What up YouTube, TK here. Today we are working on my MX-5. We're doing a thermostat change. It's really very simple. First things first, you want to undo these two bolts and you want to undo the connector to the temperature sensor on top. Lift that away and you can see the old thermostat. Now we're going to go and test this versus our new one. So we need to determine the functionality of both the old thermostat and the new. Sometimes even a new one won't actually move properly when you heat it up. To do that, we're going to use some boiling water from this friendly kettle and see how far they open up. Now obviously I would never do this in a coffee cup that people used to drink out of, but I am off site and this is the only equipment I have. The people here are a little less on point about lab safety than I am, so really it's their funeral. Pour the boiling water, grab the old thermostat, and it does not appear to be doing anything. We'll try it with the other one. Well, that doesn't appear to be doing anything either. I might not be doing this properly. Okay, so I've given it a bit more fresh water and the aftermarket one is now very obviously open. So that is good. At third time lucky, I got this old rusty one to open a bit, but I think it's definitely not going to flow as much as the new one, which is opening much more easily. This test is actually much better to do in a pot on a stove. That actually allows you to keep the water hot as you go, and you can use a thermometer to see exactly which temperature they're opening at. But for us, this was good enough today. It is interesting that this older thermostat took more effort to open than the new one, because this one's marked 80, which would suggest it's supposed to open at 80 degrees Celsius, while the new one is marked 82, obviously 82 degrees Celsius. So that probably does suggest that this old one was on the way out. Hopefully this makes a difference. We've got to scrape off all this old gasket. If we're not careful and we gouge the surface doing this, then we'll have a great new source of a coolant leak, so it pays to be careful here. Next step is to fit our delicious little gasket, which is made all the easier by the fact that our thermostat housing here is vertically oriented. We're also just going to smear a little silicone around the housing to make sure it seals extra good, because we don't want any leaks. We'll go ahead and put some silicone on the other half of the housing as well, very important, just a thin sort of coating about the width of a piece of paper. So now we go ahead and throw the thermostat in. We straighten that up a little bit. We throw a gasket on, and we may just want to use the bolts to actually get that lined up. That's all good. Press that down around the edge. And go ahead and put the top half of the housing on. Get our bolts, screw those in. Make sure not to forget this little bracket that goes on top if it's on your car. Again, get the bolt in, just do it up finger tight. And then once that's done up finger tight, you can go ahead and grab the socket wrench and go all the way. So you don't want to do one all the way up and then do the other. You want to do them both a couple of turns at a time, just snug them up first before you go all the way, because otherwise the thing's going to sit over at an angle and it's not going to seal properly. Now there is a specified torque for these. I don't know what it is. For me, it's just fairly tight. Now this is a problem I think is fairly unique to my car. This connector is actually pulled out of its cover, so I'm just going to use some super glue to fix that and then go ahead and plug that back in on top. Go ahead, push that all the way in, fill the back end of that with a little double glue, not too much, really less is more with super glue. You'd be amazed what you can do with a simple tube. Alright, that's all nicely done up and the connector has been plugged back in. All we got to do now is top up the radiator and basically give it a go. Normally when wrapping this up you would do something called burping your radiator. Now I'm not too worried about that today. We've only been working at the top of the radiator. We won't have introduced too many air valves into the system because we didn't completely drain it, so we're going to go ahead and skip that step. Now all that's left to do is to take it out for a drive and hope it doesn't overheat. Hopefully this will solve my problem and maybe it'll solve yours. Till next time, TK out.